Hello, I'm Crickets, and welcome back to I Have a Story. I talked about in previous videos, and part of doing this is to share more about myself, to prove myself to the people, and also to share stories that really people need to be aware of. I mean, this was huge safety protocol mishaps that took place here that literally would have leveled the entire city of Toledo. Follow along. I talked about how I worked at a gas company and how I was trained by the federal government and made safety protocols and things for hazardous chemical plants. Well, this is why I was in that position. I worked at this gas company, and this has all really changed over the years. I want to say this story happened in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was 2006, just a few years after 9/11. And I'm not concerned about sharing this story because of future terrorist attacks, because obviously terrorists already know this place exists and would have and already tried to blow it up. And if they would have been successful, then Toledo would no longer exist. This is truly one of the most devastational things that could have happened to Toledo, and I was the first line of defense to stop it. Follow along with my story here. So this has changed over the years, and this is the current Google Maps. I don't want to give the exact location, and part of doing this too, I mean, people need to be made aware. People need to know the real severity of the things that are happening and threats that they have right in their own backyard and are not even aware of. Now, from looking this up, apparently ownership has changed hands, and I can only assume that licenses would have transferred too, so I can't say exactly what all they're doing here now, but I can tell you what they were doing back in 2006. This was not just a gas company like the storefront showed. It was not just industrial gases like argon and helium and nitrogen, and even though we did all that stuff, that wasn't where the big business was or the big money. Where the big money was in stuff like chemical warfare. This is one of those companies. One problem here, and people need to, I mean, seriously need to be made aware of this, is, I mean, now we have people who are committing so much acts of hatred and devastation trying to blow up, say, Tesla dealerships. If people wanted to act out, or even me, wanted to act out in some severe act, people need to know the safety protocols that need to be taken to stop all of this. I mean, this is part of why I'm so scared. Part of why I want to see society come back to normalization again, because I'm scared that these things could happen. So this is what led up to that event. When I worked here, this building did not exist. At least then they were building it to be a helium plant. This right here is a hydrogen station. This is a hydrogen tank, and this is where inside, underneath this roofing, is where all the manifolds are, where you hook up your cylinders and fill hydrogen. I got put on second shift. This is a business that I talked about where I was the only person to ever get certified in every single department. I got certified to be able to do some lab work. I got certified in hazardous material, being able to fill them. I got certified for shipping and receiving. I got certified for medical gases, and I was the one in charge of filling all of our medical gases here. When I left, that was my one of my biggest jobs was doing all of the medical gases that took place here, breathing gases, instrument gases, and there's a lot more gases in a hospital than most people would ever realize. I didn't until I started working here. So they opened up a second shift, and since I was certified in everything and I was really the most educated person in this entire plant, they opened up a second shift and I was put in charge. I was the only supervisor, the only superior in this place at night. So one night I go out to fill my hydrogen, and there's a door over here. I walk out my door, go over to the hydrogen plant. Please bear with me. I'm trying to do the best I can here with my eyes and what I can see, and I already memorized this to be able to do this, so hopefully I can get it right. So I walk out the door to go to my hydrogen plant and fill hydrogen, and I noticed none of this over here was there back in the day. I don't know what's built and what was put in here now, but this was all open field back in 2006. When I walked out, up here above my head in the little circle is where a road used to go all the way around this place. And up here I noticed a car parked on the side of the road just sitting there with their lights off. My first thought was, hey, some kids out there just smoking some weed, maybe a kid trying to get with his girlfriend. Didn't really think about anything at first, but then as I sat there, I kind of had a bad feeling like, you know what, I still need to investigate. We are in a very highly classified place here, a very dangerous place. One of the things I have a problem with is this legally is not allowed to be inside city limits. But again, since we're so worried about, we are so worried about the absolute safety and care of our people, it actually came down to money because they moved the lines, put this inside city limits, built houses around it, and grandfathered it in so it would be okay because people didn't want to spend money to actually care about the safety of the people around them. All about the money. Why I hate money so much. I've learned my entire life, and money is evil. So I had a bad feeling, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to walk over to that car and see what's going on. They've been sitting over there for a little bit. Let's see what's happening. And as I walked over there, they took off. Okay, threat eliminated, right? Go back to work. So I went back to doing my job. A little while later, I noticed that same car parked around the side, on this side of the building over here, with its lights off again, and it was the same car. So I jumped on a forklift and went after it, and I was able to get their license plate number. Now I'm going to ask people because I'm having trouble finding this report, but I know it happened because I was there. Can anybody find where they reported 3 terrorists off a Suter Road in Toledo, Ohio, in a field with a bomb, and they caught them before they could commit acts of terror? This was the act they were going to commit that nobody knows about. Nobody in the city of Toledo, besides the people I've told and maybe the other people who were involved, told. I really had a gut feeling. I didn't know what to do. And this was 2006. I was still pretty young and still learning, but still very intelligent. Obviously, being young and getting put in charge of a plant like this, obviously I proved my intelligence to the company. So I got their license plate number and I called my superior. And I said, hey, something's not right here. And then we're supposed to report this and I'm not sure what to do. And he said, you know what? You go out, monitor what's going on. I'm going to call it in. So my superior is the one who called 911 or the police department. I'm not sure which he dispatched to. But I gave him the license plate number. They came back and found that car, this is not public information. Nobody knows what I'm about to tell you right now. That car was rented out of Tennessee under false identification. They didn't know who the people were. But with this plant being what it is, they went on high alert in the area and were covering the area heavily looking for trouble. Well, they found it. The 3 people out in the field with a bomb. This was their target. If this place blew up, because there's chemical warfare and there is very dangerous, I was reading labels that said 0.3 ppm is lethal. That's and you're dead. That was actually my job, was to test all of the hazardous, lethal. That was one of my jobs, was to test to make sure there were no leaks. Well, the way you test it is, if you're not wearing a mask, you're dead. Your body on the ground, we know it's leaking. There's a lot of severe safety protocol that was completely not followed in this plant. This is another plant where I couldn't believe that in a place like this, and I talk about how we have ISO certifications and how, well, this place is ISO certified, but we didn't ever follow the guidelines except for when we got the heads up that they were coming to do investigation. That's not the right word. God, I'm struggling with words right now because my brain is really spinning, but I'm trying to get these stories out to you. Investigation wasn't the right word. Inspection, that's the word. They came to do their ISO inspections, and that's the only time we followed protocol. Even against the safety of people, like On the back side of this building, right back here, was 50-gallon drums that when you vented off what was the remaining in your lines after you closed off your cylinders and filled them, after that, most like nitrogen, helium, they just vented out into the air, out through stacks coming off the roof. But when it comes to hazardous materials that can kill people, cause severe safety and health effects, they have to go through a solution of liquids in order to neutralize what's the lethality of it. Well, they didn't want to deal with that stuff, so they still just vent that stuff off in the air. Now, obviously, and granted, we worked there, and it wasn't enough to where it killed us, but who knows what kind of health effects anybody has from that stuff. I will testify to this. I, again, will sit down to a polygraph, shoot me up with truth serum, whatever it takes to prove it. This is 100% real. So come to find out, they were going here to blow this up, which if they would have been capable of doing that and gotten away with it, the city of Toledo would no longer exist. This tank right here, I was told by my superiors who trained me that if that tank were to ever blow, that it would take out the windows of the OI building, which is a full skyscraper of glass. It would take out the windows of that, which is miles away. Just the blast of this tank alone. Which, it was just, I want to say months before this incident took place, that another propane company just a few miles from this caught fire and something happened, and there was a major, cylinders of propane popping in the sky like popcorn. There was a major incident that took place here and a major fire and explosions that took place at that other gas company. But all they did was propane. This is far more than propane. And again, I don't know what they're doing there now. I can only assume that the company, because it's a big name company, took over the licenses and everything that's part of buying businesses. You know, you buy a bar, you purchase the liquor license with it. What's even more messed up, the owner of this place, the way he started this business is he was a salesman, I believe, for the company who actually bought this place, if what I'm seeing on here is right. He was a salesman from them and stole business to start his own company. And he got sued over it. But guess what? When you can make so much money to pay off your crime, oh, don't we see it enough today in politics? Jesus, I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of it. I really am sick of it. So after that happened, the federal government came in and put cameras up inside and out of this facility and monitored it 24/7. I got to go down to Florida on the East Coast, on the Isle, sit in a hotel room that was like $1,200 a night, all inclusive, and sit down with federal officials in banquet rooms, conference rooms, and get trained and teach them and come up with safety protocols in order for what happens during these instances. How we stop them from happening. How we contain the stuff better, because the stuff was not contained. Inside of a chain link fence, we have chemical warfare gases that anybody could walk in there and have had access to. Literally, I'm not kidding. People, I don't know how many of these facilities exist across the United States, but I know from what I saw here, it scares the living bejesus out of me of the possibilities of all the things that could happen. Here's another one to share with you. Right here's the hydrogen. One day, and this was when I was on first shift, they were just building this helium plant over here. They had set up over here tables in a work area where they were putting all the assembly together for things and prepping to go in here and build it. So I walk out my door here and go to the plant. I couldn't see what was going on directly behind it back here. I go in here and fill my hydrogen, and I go to vent off my hydrogen stacks from the remaining of what's in the line, and instead of just standing there and looking dumb, I'm always walking around and looking. I can't sit still. I'm always moving, and something's always got to be in my attention. I'm always looking around for everything. So instead of just standing there watching my gauges and venting it off, I decided to walk outside, and over here, there's more gauges and different manifolds over here. I came out to check my gauges and look and make sure sometimes your stacks freeze and there's different things that happen. But anyways, I just more don't want to stand around looking stupid. I'm going to walk around and look at everything. I walk around out here and it was a windy day, and coming out my stacks right here was my hydrogens being vented off, and the wind had it at a straight beeline towards a guy over here welding. Now, these people were never made aware of safety protocol when the workers who came in to build these buildings, this building right here was not even there when I worked there. They bring in these people to work in this facility who are not made aware of the severe consequences to what we need to do to keep it safe. That hydrogen steam, that the hydrogen coming out of my vapor coming out of my stack was headed straight at that guy running a torch. I start screaming, shut it off, and I run in and shut down my stuff. That right there's another time this place could have blown. There were several incidences like that took place. And I couldn't work there anymore. There's a lot of reasons why I quit. A lot. And I'll talk more about that in another video. Got to wrap this up. I try to keep my videos roughly 10 minutes or less. I can't read what's on the screen for my timing right now, so I don't know how long I am into my video, but this is a time that Toledo almost blew up and nobody even knows and is aware it's ever even happened. And people really need to know what's in their backyard and the safety of what's around them. I mean, wouldn't you want to know that as a homeowner? What's in my backyard? Oh, it's just a gas company that fills propane and welding gases. That's common stuff. That's not what was actually happening behind the scenes. And again, this wasn't even supposed to be here if we worried more about safety, health, people's lives than we do care about money. Especially people who, I mean, the owners of this place were buying half, $750,000 lakefront houses, mansions, paying cash for them. They got the money, but they don't want to give it up, right? I mean, ungodly. The more money people have, the more they get greedy. This is why I'm so against money. Well, I could never have $1 million because I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to be like that. A guy who can buy a brand new Cadillac every 2 years. A guy who is so, I mean, I hate to say it, he looked like Humpty Dumpty. He couldn't even get in a Cadillac without having to have special seats and brackets made in order for him to just be able to fit between the steering wheel and the seat in a Cadillac. But then he sold it to the guy above me. He was really the only person above me in the rankings. The head manager got that car every other year for $2,000. Switched the bracketry back around on the seat so he could drive it, and got a brand new, the 2-year-old Cadillac every other year for $2,000. That's the kind of money these people have. But they're not concerned about spending it for what's good for people, just for their own greed. So many more stories I could talk about in this place. Oh my God. But I mean, people really need to be made aware. This is what's in your backyard. Again, I don't know what's going on here now and what licenses, again, got transferred to be able to carry and contain and do the stuff that we were doing. But I know it was taking place then. And people really ought to know, and people really ought to be concerned about things like this.